Silent of fall! Liquid are doing it! They're gonna take it! He's gonna bring down Burning! Almost with a double kill! Dropping fast! Monovoid's there! He's still alive! Wait, oh, second slide! He's going one slide! He's going a second! He's taking it out! Oh my god! On three! They're all dead!
Hello everyone and welcome back. It's the Summit 2 by G2A.com. We're in the China Division and it's day number 2. And we're in game number 3 of our 4-game series tonight. And this one is going to be an exciting one. This is probably the biggest matchup I was looking forward to of the night. It's going to be LGD Gaming going against Team DK, the newly formed Team DK. And LGD, they were the starting act for us this evening and came out very, very strong. And DK have been upsetting teams left, right, and center and looking fantastic. Just earlier in the Synergy League, they took down Team Newbie, who we had just saw do a strong performance against Live Gaming. So it kind of shows that a lot of these teams really can get a win off anyone. It's getting more and more exciting. Well, bringing you the English coverage is myself, Coddle Guy, and by my side once more, it's Mr. Blaze. Blaze, my friend, I hope you're having a good time thus far. We got 2 more to go. How you feeling, my friend?
Feeling very good. Really good. Especially this matchup in particular. Like you mentioned, it's a really close one between these two teams. It's really hard to call, honestly. Like DK, they look really strong, but they're still kind of a wild card. We've seen different strategies from them. We've seen the kind of a multi-core, spread the map, and take it to the late game style. But we've also seen ways where they can just push and end when they need to. So, I mean, really, the question is what we're going to see from DK this time around, how fleshed out their strategies are, being a very young team, and what they're going to bring to bear against LGD. I mean, LGD already is opening up with a pretty strong draft here. The Death Prophet and Ancient Apparition are 2 great heroes for not only dealing damage, but making that damage stick, because they're not going to be healing up anytime soon with like a mech on the Razor or anything like that. But even still, DK have a pretty good answer right now, and I have a lot of respect for their core players and what they can accomplish when it comes down to the early skirmishes and as the game gets prolonged.
LGD Gaming's turn.
We'll see how they do. They've been looking really strong, and hopefully they can keep that streak going. And LGD, I'm sure the same goes for them. So for the second game straight, we're going to see a Tidehunter picked up first. The Watermelon is fresh in season, I guess, for some of these teams as they want to go for more of the prized offlaner there. Again, passing over what used to be the usual grab Centaur. So we'll see if it's something that LGD are going to look to get a hold of here for their own offlane, because Batrider's also already been banned out. So I would wager that he's going to be the next best pick, and we'll see if that is indeed the case. The follow-up from that Tidehunter, DK pick up the Razor, and then they go for an early grab on the Spectre. Most teams like to hold this hero off in reserve for the 5th grab to see how the picks will continue, but Team DK, they're confident enough they'll get a hold of it right as the 3rd pick comes in. And for LGD, they start off with one of the best grabs. If you're not going to ban her, someone's going to get a hold of her, and it's going to be LGD. Death Prophet going to be the first prize grab, and Ancient Apparition looking to nerf down that healing presence, specifically striking towards this Razor, one of the, I guess, heroes that more than likely picks up a mechanism. Now he might have to second guess and just kind of throw that on the wayside, probably because we've seen some tremendous Ice Blast coming out even last game. And well, lo and behold, look who it is. It's the Beefcake. Centaur is indeed going to be grabbed as the 3rd pick here for LGD.
Yeah, I think that the Tide is a better pick on the Dire side right now because of the fact that the Centaur Warrunner is a little more exposed when it comes to laning on that off lane, that suicide lane. There's a lot more paths to flank to gank and to kind of get those smoke initiations off on heroes on the Dire off lane, and people are feeling more vulnerable. The Tide has a little bit more survivability with the Kraken Show than Centaur does with just the Stomp and Return. So I think that the Tide is a really smart pickup, and it's going to give them a lot, but it really depends on how the timing of BKBs works out for LGD. We've seen more and more Crobulus picking up the BKB at maybe 2nd or 3rd major item type status, and if she can get it off against before the Tide hits the Ravage, the Plasma Field, Radiance, anything like that takes effect, then she's going to have a very solid HP bar to work with as she just crushes with that physical damage. And with maximum mobility, with the Stampede on top, she's going to be able to chase to her heart's content. So I think that a big aspect of this lineup is going to be when Death Prophet finds her BKB. If she gets it too early, then obviously she'll have issues as the charges start dwindling. But if she gets it too late, then obviously that's too much time for DK to get a superior team fight. But not even hesitating with the Earthshaker pickup in response to the
DK's
Visage.
turn to
Draft
ban.
progressing nicely, and it looks like DK, they want to make sure their lanes go well.
So I see a Visage, and my immediate go-to is potentially a Drow, could be the
I don't think
core,
so.
or some sort of solid pickup, but, you know, no extra support
seconds
available, so that
remaining.
might not be the case. So as far as synergy with this Visage, can be a
5
bit questionable.
seconds
There's only one
remaining.
other team out there that kind of runs Visage as a core, but that's EG. Spectre already there, and Razor.
Reserve
I think it's just
time.
going to be a casual Visage grab. I'm probably going to follow up with a secondary support or range support who maybe can add a little extra pushing power as well. I mean, if this was last patch, I would keep throwing out the name Shadow
LGD
Shaman, but
Gaming's
teams more and
turn
more
to
often are just
ban.
kind of throwing that hero on the side. You know, I still think it can be a good utility hero with great lockdown of the Shackle and the Hex, and then the wards also could do some serious work, but I guess they risk just kind of handing those wards over as free farm. So we'll see what DK decide to
10
round out their
seconds
5th pick.
remaining.
And LGD, yeah, like you said, they grabbed the Earthshaker, and him and Centaur
5
Warrunner.
seconds remaining.
I like to call them the Bash Brothers. They got a lot of lockdown to work with, and if you
Team
manage to get a
DK's
hold of
turn to
someone, you got a
pick.
cold feet present as well, there is going to be a lot of CC on the court, and it's going to make things very, very nice for them. But here we go. The final band's going to pop out on the side of DK. They get rid of the Morphling, and they'd already gotten rid of that Naga. And on the side of LGD, they get rid of the Sand King as their, well, could have been a very, very nice grab. Kind of rattling my brain as far as what it could be here. Rubik seems to pop into my mind, but there's not
10
really a whole
seconds
lot to
remaining.
grab. Yeah, a Fissure could work out if you could somehow get a hold of an Ice Blast, though Ancient
5
Apparition
seconds
should be
remaining.
too close to the battle when he throws one of those out. We'll have to see what they decide to go for. If they want additional lockdown,
Reserve
Lions
time.
seems to be a top candidate as well.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of ways they could run it. If they're worried about the hard initiation between the Centaur and Earthshaker, they could also look for something like a Shadow Demon, but Crystal Maiden's going to make an appearance here, and this is
LGD
interesting because it allows them to go
Gaming's turn
greedy,
to
which
pick.
is so far what we've seen this new TK roster loves to do. Crystal Maiden can go and focus on the jungle. The Frostbite buffs really help her there, and she's going to be just kind of farming up probably for the first 2 or 3 levels just from those hard neutrals, and that'll give Visage more time to pull and get independent experience, and then she can obviously rotate and deal with try versus try if that is going to be put in play, because Weaver, Earthshaker, Ancient Apparition, that is a very aggressive try lane if they want to go that route.
yeah.
I mean, the Chilling Touch is amazing with the Geminate attack. And yeah, I could definitely see this working where CM is going to be forced into the lane, forcing the try, but even there, if she skills correctly, she does shine, because that Crystal Nova is absolutely absurd when you hit multiple targets.
And I really like the Weaver grab. I mean, you already pointed it out. A Weaver and Ancient Apparition is kind of an old standard as far as the early aggression it can bring out. And overall, I like the early aggression they'll be able to put together in that lane, as they're not looking probably to venture too far as far as rotating across
Prepare
the
for
map and
battle.
adding presence elsewhere. But you got to remember as well that Geminite attack also received a bit of a recent buff. I'm lagging pretty hard right here. I don't know if you're feeling the same thing, but it seems like Perfect World has put up a fortress of a firewall right here. If I'm not seeing a lot of movement coming out, I might need to go with a bit of a reconnect, because I'm looking at everyone frozen. Actually, they're just moving like a slideshow here. So, oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's very slideshowy. Is that the same for you or no?
No, not whatsoever. I'm also getting messages on Twitter that you are roboting pretty hard and Dota TV. I know that's something that we aren't able to control.
That's
but
something
maybe,
we cannot control. Yeah.
But maybe if you reconnect,
Unfortunately,
it could be better on both fronts. So
I'm just going to go with the classic disconnect, reconnect here and hope that resolves it. But yeah, I appreciate everyone letting me know that in Dota TV, I sound like a robot. I'm not trying to be a Don Marigato, but you know, with Perfect World servers and their firewalls and the routing connections and the who's its and the what's its and what have yous, unfortunately, it's something that's kind of out of our control until something is done by some sort of greater power out there. So, you know, I appreciate you and your concern. Unfortunately, that's an issue that is out of our hands. Now, if I'm muted, please let me know, like you did in the last game, and I'll gladly take care of that. But my best suggestion as far as advice is to just kind of have the stream up on the side. We are sporting the 2-minute delay. It should be somewhat close, and you could be able to get proper audio, at least hopefully, from our stream. I know Blaze is coming through crystal clear with his, you know, fantastic wealth of knowledge. He is coming from the east side, so he probably is just sporting a better connection than I am over here on the west. So, you know, ultimately, that's just what it comes down to. So hopefully the teams are getting too excited. Let me know if anything gets too hot and heavy, as I'm still trying to connect
Okay.
as I stare
go
at this
ahead.
frickin' Slark screen.
I'll go ahead and do the introductions as far as heroes and players just to get us going. We're just seeing passive lanes for the most part. A little advantage over Razor over Death Prophet here to start us off, but really nothing as far as actual kill potential anytime soon. So looking over at the rosters, looking at LGD first, we're going to be seeing that Yao picks up the Death Prophet for the mid lane. They're going to bring a tri-lane down bottom. It's going to be Faith once again on that Earthshaker. We saw him very impressive previously today. MMY is going to be running your Ancient Apparition, and that's going to leave Sylar to run the Morphling. A lot of potential with those heroes in particular. And that's going to leave offlane to be played by In July. That's the Centaur War Runner. Looking over at the side of DK, they're kind of playing the way that I expected to. We are seeing a Smoke Gank actually coming in from CM, and she's got 2 skills, just barely enough mana to support it. This might be an actual kill potential here, as we do see a lot of static link damage coming out. The Frostbite, the Nova, they don't have clear vision with Plasma Field, but we do see that he's still diving. That CTY really wants to pick this one up, but is one right click away, and in the end, will not find it, having to go for an extended path and right into the enemy's hands. If the Visher connects, he's going down. Yes, they right-click him, they turn it on him, and MMY will be actually securing the first blood against CTY. Just got a little bit too overzealous there, diving the tower, and gets turned on.
And I definitely appreciate you giving me the commentary. I did manage to make it back in, but unfortunately it's not any better. I'm finally seeing the first blood message now, but it is such a slow motion picture slideshow that it's really not helping. I'm gonna just have to
My recommendation there would be a
reconnect.
full Dota 2 restart. That's was really helped me a lot during the TI4 qualifiers for China. So I've had the issue before. Many casters have, but full Dota 2 is the restart that's worked for me the most. Still no guarantees, as it's kind of an imperfect world, but. Yeah, just finishing up the introductions at least for DK here. We've got XBG supporting on the Visage up top. He's supporting Dreamy on the Spectre. They've got Cold Snap, aka Hansu. He's going for a 1-1-1 build on the Crystal Maiden. Tried to get involved, almost got the kill, but in the end, just baits his buddy into utter demise. But yeah, that is Feet, aka CTY, running on the Razor in the mid, and their offlaner is Black.Z. I still think that's Leonly as their offlaner here. Boots first for him, and he's also getting this Arcane Aura, so he should be able to farm up those Ancients as early as level 5.
Alright, well I got my Dota 2 refired up. It's taken quite a while to connect. Apparently our connection to Perfect World is getting worse by the moment here, but I will go for another reconnect right here and hope it's for the best. The threat's trying to troll me. I know my mic is working. I'm not falling for that one, kids. Calm down, alright? And looking to reconnect again. Sorry to kind of put you on the spot. If you want to, continue on with anything significant happening, I'll let you know as soon as I'm back in. Hopefully, it will happen sooner than later.
Definitely. And one thing to mention for Dota TV viewers is if you a caster disconnects and then reconnects and you cannot hear him, try retoggling the audio channel. If you turn it to a different channel, turn it back to us, you'll be able to hear both casters loud and clear there, barring obviously distortion effects for Perfect World issues. But yeah, I obviously will wait for Cuddle Guy to get back into it. For now, it's passivity. 4-minute rune spawn. Going to be invis for In July. The bounty rune is up in the air. Nice little flank coming out from Faith, looking for a kill onto the Tide Hunter, but they're really just zoning him back so they can get the push on the Tier 1 tower. They've got Geminated Attack, they've got the Bassi Ring active, and this Tower Fortify is still only keeping it above half health. It's dropping quickly, and with the quick clear, I think they're actually going to be able to bring this Tier 1 tower down with this wave, but mid lane, there's going to be some action.
Yeah, they catch out In July right here. They throw out the early freeze lockdown. Static Link, it's a long one, and they get it done. In July ends up falling. And how you doing, everyone? So much for a perfect world as we finally got our ticket to make it way into the server. It looks like it's going to be evened up 1-for-1 right now, and an early takedown before 5 minutes of the Tier 1 tower there on the bottom. It's looking like LGD are off to a nice start at this one. Continues out, and DK are going to shuffle off on the side. It's Black getting locked in the corner from MMY, who's not afraid to go toe-to-toe. And, well, coming in from behind is Sylar on the Weaver, and he throws out the early chilling touch right now. Cold feet, and this Tide Hunter might be pinned in the corner, and he ends up falling. LGD, man, I come into it, and they're swinging heavy and hard right now, and they're landing some good shots on DK.
Yeah, most definitely. Unfortunately, obviously, the mid turned against them when they kind of tried to go for the gank with the Invisor, and then the center ward got put down. But all the same, across the map, they're still taking the objectives they need to, and they're getting Siler some great farm to start him off, and that's what they absolutely need. They need Siler to get involved, get him one item before the BKB, in my opinion. Sometimes we'll see Weavers rush it out after the tier 2 boots, but I'd say one good item on top, maybe even just drums, before going for the BKB. Just so you don't have to go through the charges that quickly. But once you get involved with the backing bar, that's when you get to dive on top of people. You can Chikuchi right through and just hammer it onto the lower HP heroes. I mean, like, Visage, for example, is a very easy target to bring down with the Swarm, because the Swarm actually takes down charges of Gravekeeper's Cloak. So they're not only chewing away at armor just per attack as they normally do, but they're also taking away his natural armor with that passive.
All right, and just looking over the CS now, getting a proper gander. Poor Black here on the Tidehunter. He has nothing. He's well past 6 minutes, and he's just going to continue to step on back and try to stack this, but there's that ward. It's preventing him from getting the stacks in, and they see it now, and Crystal Main's going to quickly try to take it down, and they do so. Nice wardage up here, as he does notice that it's been a bit troublesome trying to get the extra stacks in, because he desperately needs this bit of farm. And on the other side, it's been Weaver continually farming it up, 36-9, but a king of CS right now is Dreamy U on the Spectre, 43-24. That is a very strong start for your farming Spectre, and it looks like she might have made a recent purchase. I mean, the phase boots are complete here, and
yeah,
up on the corner we have gloves and an urn.
So yeah, building up a lot of momentum behind himself, and he's going to be able to get in fighting shape for his first haunt. That's the big deal here, is essentially whenever he sees a good kill opening, he's going to reality to the haunt, so that not only he has the chance to get the last hit and get even more gold going, but get just those two precious urn charges that he can use to sustain himself with HP, or he could of course use them to enhance his damage potential. So we'll see how that pans out, but for now, he's actually the one of 2 heroes online that has his ultimate. Siler as well has the time lapse, but this haunt's going to be even more impactful, I believe, and we'll just see how he uses it the first time around. For now, they don't really have the initiation to set it up. Like, if the CM and Visage rotate perfectly, they should be able to set up the Spectre for a last hit, but otherwise, they're just going to keep doing their thing, farming the jungle, getting Visage to level 6, and finding their openings once their ultimates are in a better spot.
So ever since the introduction of 6.82 and, you know, Valve/IceFrog announced the rubber band/comeback system, many teams are really starting to put Spectre back into the limelight. That haunt ability to be able to be a part of any of the fights really becomes quite significant as far as getting her in and part of all that delicious and sweet XP and gold, and it seems to be working towards their benefit. Plus, we've seen many comebacks where she can be able to even have a significant buyback into a haunt just to get back into the fray. So very globally present, very high impact later on in the game. She's going to have her, you know, match tested, as it's going to be Death Prophet, one of the other queens of the late game, who's going to be testing her out. And the Weaver right there by her side is going to be a struggle. And I'm really excited to see how this is going to look to progress, as it looks, you know, relatively not too far in advance for LGD thus far, just near the 2K mark advantage for them as far as net worth goes. Razor in the mid lane, not getting, you know, too much significance since the Centaur takedown. He's 38-12 here. On the other side, it's a 39 and 7 Death Prophet, so relatively even there as well. Siler has made his appearance up here in the top lane. Is just kind of scouting things out, but relatively quiet game here. We've seen a lot of high-impact games up to this point, but this one seems more slow and methodical.
Yeah, there's a really interesting decision that I actually love from LGD here. They're going to bring Injuly down to the bottom lane to farm up his Blink Dagger. He had almost no farm coming out of the top lane. He's actually only at 15 right now, and he was not going to get the Blink Dagger anytime soon. But 6.82, a part of that aspect of the rubber band effect also means that you shouldn't put too much net worth on a single hero. So spread the love a little bit. They want to progress as a team, and the tool that's going to allow them to do that is the Blink Dagger on either the Earthshaker or the Centaur. So Injuly gets to go down bottom, take the safe lane, and try to build himself up, but we do see that Black is bullying him a little bit here, having the melee versus melee advantage with this Anchor Smash. And honestly, Hansu might be the deciding factor here as he rotates as well.
You know, but Tidehunter, you're talking about the lack of farm for Centaur. Tidehunter's still trying to come back. He's 6-2 now after he was 0-0 for a long, long time. And he actually has a headdress. So that is an interesting grab early on for your Tidehunter, especially going against AA. But speaking of AA, he's making a move on top lane. Quickly bursts down. MMY gets it done. That Spectre, who'd been farming so well, quickly hits the deck, as it looks like LGD get a very nice objective done up here in the top lane. And they take down 2. Nice strikes coming out from LGD.
Yep. So we're just going to actually see some real... Oh, that TP rotation after the stomp comes through onto Black, and Sylar is a very fast hero to keep pace with him. The Nova will expire right when Shikuchi does, so he doesn't really get slowed by it at all, and he's going to be able to run him down. Going for the right clicks. Jumping attack is mitigated a bit by Anchor Smash, but in the end, In July picks up a much-needed kill, and it brings them 5-1. For LGD right now. MMY has and Midas as well, so the Aghanim Scepter and possibly other items like Yules or Hex could come out very, very quickly for him. And yeah, across the board, they are looking really good right now.
Midas on Ancient Aberration, man, I have not seen that in quite a while. That just shows a support who has been farming tremendously, and like you said, that's going to be a quick and early ags and some quick and early levels. He goes a small jumper out there to the mid lane. It does actually catch there in Dreamy U, and will force her to double back quite a bit. But, you know, I want to go back towards this Tide. I mean, Blaze, fill me in. What's happening with this headdress? He's going for a mechanism. Oh, yeah. It's not going to be your Razor mech holder, but a mech against an AA. And an AA is farming up. Now, you know, never mind. I'm not going to talk about it anymore because every time I do, action happens. Meanwhile, mid lane, that AA does fall right there at the back end of that one. This Vicious is the one to get the last hit and a bit of redemption off what happened earlier in the top lane. And, well, it looks like DK do manage to get finally another kill on their side. They're definitely going to need a bit of momentum because it looked like LGD were really coming out with a strong, strong early laning phase.
Yep, and that is going to be the first haunt of the game here, but just picking up a nice little kill there, hindering the Ancient Empress a little bit. Not going to be that big of a deal as he's floating a lot of reliable gold with the Midas, 190 in particular. Sylar down bottom will be putting some pressure on Black, but he is tanking up a bit. Like you mentioned, the headdress, the chainmail here, it's going to be building up gradually towards a mechanism, and they're just going to ravage Sylar!
Oh!
Shiva ravage!
Uh-oh!
Radiant's
the Shivers are going to be dropped, that's for sure, because that was a big whiff if I ever saw one. Unfortunately, Sylar did conveniently able to just kind of weave himself away from that one, and that is not when you want to be starting out with your first Ravage of the game, and Black had already been struggling as it is. Hopefully this boy is not on tilt, as he will have to double back now and just kind of go back to his usual ancient farm and wait out the cooldown to make another big impact. Meanwhile, mid lane, trying to make an impact of their own as LGD once again pulls out the Exorcism, trying to get some early licks in on this tower, takes it down to about a quarter life, and now Razor shows up, he's trying to get them to double back. And Dreamy U is also part of the action, throws out the dagger, but doesn't have a whole lot of extra mana to really follow up with anything else here. But Yao is still persistent. Hanging in and also coming in from above is Sylar, who avoided that Ravage earlier, now getting caught out with the Static Link. And big damage going to be soaked up just a bit there, but your Ice Blast returned Cold Feet as well. He's going to keep moving away, preventing that extra bit of frozen lockdown, and it looks like it'll just be a tit for a tat. A little bit of footsie, a little bit of flirtiness happening in the mid lane, but nothing really coming out of it.
Yeah. Faith actually dropped down to about 30 HP there. If the Spectre wasn't going for the kind of this wish-washy build, if she had committed to the Spectral Dagger, that would have actually been a kill. Like, you don't usually look at that Spectral Dagger to be a big nuke, but it would have been just enough to tip him over the edge if it was maxed out. But he has kind of gone for this 3-3-1, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. In the end, it's not going to be the biggest impact one way or another, but it is going to be when he maxes out this Desolate, probably at level 9, a really powerful haunt to come out from him. And there's obviously a lot of potential global damage that'll come out when that comes into play. For now, there is a potential pickoff on Faith if he gets hit by both familiar stuns. They haunt and they go for the plasma field, and it looks like that's what they're going to do.
Nice set up, and it allows for the easy move on in, and wow, just like that, just promptly taken down, and there's that haunt going to work, and it is Streamy who gets in the last hit, and that's definitely what you want from your Spectre early on, and she quickly just goes right back to the top lane, back into her farming rotation right there. Your mechanism now going to be complete there on Black as he returns back to the bottom lane. And he's going to go toe-to-toe again with Sylar, as he will be able to have Ravage back up in about 15 seconds, and I don't think he's going to plan on missing the next go-around.
One aspect of this, like, number 4 position Ancient Apparition that's going for Midas and is obviously wanting to turn that into some real gold towards the Aghanim Scepter next, is it is forcing Faith to go for this number 5 position Earthshaker. He actually had, like, 1,300 gold, but has turned that into arcane boots and wards. Knows he's not going to have the full blink anytime soon, at least not a fleshed out build. Like, he could go for the blink without arcanes, but then there's plenty of fights you won't have enough mana for all of your spells. So, in the end, he's just going to bite the bullet there, be a little bit underfarmed, but still contribute as we've seen without the blink.
Oh, mid lane, you hear the call of the Stampede. They're looking to break past enemy lines, and they want to get a hold of the Razor. And big damage Ice Blast should be able to clean him up, but it's the Ghosts who come in a tickling and do manage to finish him on out. So they take down the Prize Core and the Tower. A 1-2 punch coming out from LGD, but they're not done yet. Sylar looking to move on in. Would love to get a hold here of the Visage. Moving on in, Lang, Fidgeter going to catch out. Blink and Hoof Stomp, and there's your Ravage. This one does connect, but it might be too late for him as it gets Yulesed up from that Death Prophet. They've already lost 3, only a Centaur to fall on the side of LGD, but Sylar's not done yet. They're looking to move on in. Dreamy U, very, very wounded from this one, and ultimately will fall there. It's the Long Fisher flying out from Faith that gets it done and make it a 4-for-1 when it's all said and done.
Yeah, that's a huge kill on the Spectre there. Just inhibiting him, forcing him to rotate, and then just getting the pick off on him is going to be delaying his item progression. Looks like it's a casual Vit booster into the Sacred Relic, a pretty common build these days, and yeah, Spectre desperately needs to keep this unreliable gold afloat, but getting picked off there, it does set him back a decent chunk, and Sylar's just moving forward. He's forging ahead towards his next item, the Lincoln Sphere it's going to be, and I would presume after that he's either looking for Desolator or Crit. Both great pickups. The Crit now does proc on the Geminate attack, which is great, and in general you're going to see a lot of physical damage coming out from him and the Death Prophet as the Swarm starts ticking away more negative armor. And, I mean, DK don't have the tankiest heroes. Like, Visage, he's only tanky with the Cloak, the Gravekeeper's Cloak here, but because he's going, at least for now, for the point booster over the Medallion, it means once the Gravekeeper's gone, he has essentially no armor.
Blaze, maybe you can enlighten me on something. So, Feet here on the Razor has not leveled up his ultimate yet, and he's level 11. Is there something I'm missing? Maybe he's not planning on getting objectives anytime soon? I feel like this Eye of the Storm could have been a bit helpful maybe in some of these engagements. Am I missing something?
Well, I mean,
is that a bit unorthodox?
It is definitely unorthodox. The common build that I see that delays the ultimate still picks it up at level 10 and 11. It would be a 4-4-1-0 build at that point. But in this point where he is level 11 and he's gone 3 points in the passive, he obviously is prioritizing mobility above everything else. The one thing that I do consider a smart reason behind it is how quickly he's going to drop in fights if he overcommits. Eye of the Storm puts you right in the thick of things, and if you get hit by an Ice Blast, a Double Edge, a little bit of Exorcism damage, there's no way you get more than like 3 or 4 ticks off of the Eye of the Storm anyways. So I could see the merits of delaying it, but eventually he's got to pick it up.
Yeah. I mean, of course, we're trying to be as open-minded as possible. Don't want to be, putting any shots out there. It's just something you don't always see, and it makes you really feel a bit perplexed as far as what the reasoning could be behind it. And with their team that's been falling behind a little bit, I can't help but feel like it could have been a useful tool, but regardless, we'll see if Feet will be able to bounce back with it. But he's also in rough territory here, as it looks like LGD are in the midway through a sweep, and he might be the target that they would love to get a hold of, but not going to be quite close enough to be caught out with the Yules right there or any sort of fissure, but they're not letting up yet as Sylar to fall on the bottom lane as he ultimately gets taken down from the Hitman squad on the side of DK. They do commit the Ravage and a lot of lockdown for it, but well worth the precious core grab as I get caught up in the sweep on the top of the side of the map.
Yeah, there were 2 instances where he was mid-time-lapse animation, but the familiar stuns just caused him too much grief, and in the end, they're just barely able to get that kill, and a big one. If the Lincoln Sphere was there, I don't think they get it. The Soul Assumption was that last little tip over the edge that they needed to finish the job, and yeah, that Lincoln Sphere, if it had come out, would have been essentially making him too tanky for that kind of a play, but they make it happen at just the right timing window, delay Sylar's momentum a little bit, and they get a lot of gold going their way. So it's a small step in the right direction. They still have a long way to go, but yeah, any opportunity like that is going to give space for Dreamy U.
And we'll see a creeping LGD squad here playing it out in this mid lane. MMY is indeed building closer and closer towards that Agnum Scepter, about to be level 9 as well. Already has the point booster and near 1 more component, getting that much closer to it. Meanwhile, up in the top, getting space for himself is Dreamy U. No Haunt available to engage in the next fight, as he's just kind of looking to build up towards that Sacred Relic. He's near 3K now, so he's on a decent quota as far as getting a hold of that Radiance, and he's just going to kind of keep himself up here. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, Sylar's the other core looking to farm on up. Does now have that link. It's complete, but meanwhile in the mid lane, looking to push on forward using the Stampede. They jump on in. They get the big slam jam, takes down Visage, and now they're looking to clean up some extra bit of birds in the meanwhile, but Centaur's heavily wounded, and from the high ground, Razor, one more whip would get it done, but ultimately the long ball dagger is what gets it done. But meanwhile, they do clean out the other support. Crystal Maiden gets the bad end of this Death Prophet, so make it a 2-for-1 at the end of it, but the pickoff there in the hands of the Spectre does help out for TK, but going for another objective here on LGD. They would love to get a hold of this tier 2. Black considers moving on in, but he still has no Ravage and no more mana to work with either. He gets silenced up, he eats a bit of extra harassment, and will pull back. The tower gets very low, not in deny range, but LGD do decide to pull on back.
Yeah, it's a really important defense here because the double damage and the Exorcism coming out at this time with all those ghosts, obviously Exorcism's at level 2, Witchcraft maxed out, that's something that you usually don't hold a tier 2 against. So the fact that they're able to accomplish that without committing the Ravage is a pretty big deal. But we'll see next. We're seeing actually that CTY just wants to use his first point in Eye of the Storm that he's finally acquired just to farm here. Like, he's not even looking for combat ready. I mean, it's not the longest cooldown or anything, but yeah, he's just saying, okay, well, get some free damage on these neutral creeps here. And yeah, it's just going to be kind of spread the map, farming for DK for a little bit, but
he's not going to have it for a fight, though, and a fight's coming his way. It's still out right now, but it's about to expire, but regardless, he gets slammed down very, very easily. Centaur Warrunner, the one to pick that one off, and Crystal Maiden, it's going to be an icy broad for her as he tries to turn on back, and now going to be hiding behind the tower here, hoping that they don't pursue, but Stampede calls out, and oh god, desperation mode for her, but she is done for. Oh, Hydra kids, that was ugly right there, as they do manage to take down both Razor and Crystal Maiden at the end of that one, and now we'll begin to unload on this tier 2 tower. Now on the top, they are persistent on getting these pickoffs and making objectives happen one after the other, because Dota is an objective game. It's not always about getting the kills, it's about getting goals. And so far, they're getting a lot done here on the side of LGD, and that's what's important. You got a Spectre on the other side who's planning on getting a hold of a Radiance and taking it to the long game, but LGD are not going to allow that to happen. They now enhance their net worth up and above towards 8K.
Yeah, I mean, they've been taking so many major objectives, taking these towers, getting control. Like this Observer Ward has been here for a while on the plateau of the Dire Jungle, but it's what's enabling them to find those openings, especially on Hunts, or sorry, CTY. But Hansu is going to deward that now. It's kind of belated as it's already been taking its toll. It's been up there for about 6 minutes time. Black is going to actually be farming the enemy jungle, looking for that Blink Dagger. He just needs a few hundred more gold, so he's gonna just kind of scrapping, finding farm where he can, and that's going to be on the opposite side of the map that LGD are pushing in. They're all about penning in the opposition. They're trying to limit the space where DK can farm, but if they keep spreading the map like this, then they're still going to find opportunities for them to come back. He's going to have to TP back soon, probably with the next creep camp, but at least for now, he actually got scouted by the courier, and they're pinging him out. But I think they'll commit to the tier 2 here. That's probably the higher priority thing, is just to bring the towers down and make sure that Roche is not an option for DK.
They do take down one familiar bird as they were scouting it out, and it was Death Prophet who was invis there. And now they turn their sights on this other tier 2, which has already been very, very low, and they'll be able to finish it off. That clears out all outer towers now for the side of DK, and they're pressing on forward. They still have Exorcism to work with, and Yao quickly calls it on out and says, let's do it, kids. We're going to go ahead and ascend the staircase, take the high ground, and get in as much damage as possible, as DK have yet to be seen as far as the defense. Crystal Maiden is in the area, same with XBG on your Visage, but still they can't get anything done, and Death Prophet is glad to keep doing it on out, and Sylar is just contributing by adding over the Lincoln's proc onto Death Prophet in case they do make a move on in. And meanwhile, waiting back and behind, Tidehunter, who now has that Blink Dagger, would love to make a jump and play with the level 2 Ravage, but he's not going to get the opportunity. LGD just get as much damage in as possible with that Exorcism. That brings that tier 3 all the way down to just a little bit of life left. So a nice siege attempt there coming out from LGD. They just continue to go one from the next to the next as far as getting objectives done.
Yeah. A lot of people will ask why LGD didn't just walk up to the high ground there. They have this gold advantage that a lot of people say is, okay, that's enough to break the base. You look at the numbers, 10,000, that's great. But if you actually look at it, DK just picked up 3 huge items. The Blink Dagger on Tide, the BKB on CTY, and There was one more, yeah, the Radiance on Spectre. So Dream Muse in a great position there to spread the damage, to continue to farm whatever she wants to deal with it. And honestly, I don't know if LGD take a guaranteed fight there. The Tide Ravage plus Freezing Field is actually a legit combo as far as just getting some great magical damage out, and they don't have anything like a pipe just yet. So gotta watch out, gotta play it a little safe, at least for the moment. Siler will have a Desolator soon. AA has picked up the Aghanim Scepter, so they are now in fighting form once again. But they have to scout this Roche quick, or an Aegis on top might be enough for DK to take the leverage in the next 5v5.
Yeah, and they don't have the proper vision, but here comes the jumper. It catches on everyone in the pit, and they just disperse like cockroaches who have seen the light. And now they got to get the hell out of here, and on the hunt with a stampede is LGD looking to catch up what they can. They throw out the swarm speed of cockroaches. It does catch on a couple. Of poor Visage is going to be caught under them, and still on the hunt is Siler looking to push on ahead. They take down one bird. They're looking to take the other, but one stomps, trying to slow them down. A turn back now, Han, as unfortunately Crystal Main quickly falls. Same with the Visage here. There's your Ravage turnaround, though, and they take down AA. Faith gets his Echo Slam off before he also goes down. Supports on both sides ultimately hit the deck, and now they're looking to turn their attention as Siler is on hot pursuit towards the Spectre. But all the meanwhile, ripping on through is Yao. They clean down the Tidehunter, and now they're going to kind of segue themselves over and into the Roche pit. Thank you very much, boys, for starting it off, but we'll take it from here, says LGD.
Yeah, and there's no risk with this. I mean, maybe the Familiar could kill an Aegis, but the Ravage is not available, so there is no way that they lose Roshan. There's no way that they get turned on in this position. The DD rune is just icing on the cake to make it guaranteed. So they get the second life of the Weaver. He has his Desolator coming out. And the reason that fight was so damn easy for LGD is the Aghanim's Ice Blast. Not only is it at this massive duration because of the Aghanim's effect, it goes up to 17 seconds, but because the Midas has given AA a ton of experience, he's actually level 11 a lot sooner than he normally would be. And that level 2 means more damage per second that ticks over that full duration.
And it was all desperation from DK as they tried to eject as quick as possible. Ultimately, the high movement coming out from LGD just managed to catch up with them, and they just ended up crumbling. Meanwhile, Sylar, look at how aggressive he is. He is in enemy territory right here. He's confident, though. He's got the Aegis. He's got this Desolator. He wants birds. Takes one of them down, gets a bit of extra gold in the pocket. Can't quite get the other one, and is happy with that as he will just take away some of this farm in the opposing DK jungle. And for DK, a team that has been looking very, very strong, this is the, you know, most I've seen them struggle in a match. And they're desperately looking to pull on back from this one. They eat another Ice Blast. That Aghanim's Ice Blast is just going to keep them second-guessing, especially when you catch it on these weaker supports. You know, at that point, they're kind of second-guessing how much they can really commit because they're quickly going to be taken down to half-life. And it's only level, you know, a level 2 as well. As it goes on, it's going to get more and more rough here for DK. But now, they're going to look to go on the offensive. They pull out the smoke, they blaze it up, and they're going to make movement down towards the bottom lane.
Yeah, I mean, if you actually catch out Crystal Maiden with the Ice Blast, that is half her HP bar. She relies on the Tranquil Boots so much to keep her HP sustained, and if you do connect with that, she doesn't really commit to the fight at all. Like, she can throw out one quick spell, Crystal Nova, on the run, and then she just has, like, TP or run away. But, yeah, so many pursuit tools from LGD. They've got the Yules, they've got a couple Blinks. They've got a lot of ways to engage around this, but let's see if they get the Stampede reflexes quickly enough.
Sylar moves on in. There's your Eye of the Storm going to be Pop Lincolns as well, but your Ravage is going to lock them in place. Even the jumping in Centaur, they quickly pull out the Stampede and want to reposition, but it's going to be too late. Echo Slam on the return, though. Black is very low. Sylar looking to clean up. Crystal Main tries to get off an ultimate, but it's not going to last very long at all. And Yao is looking to clean up. The rest of Visage does get it. And meanwhile, Sylar on the hunt wants Watermelon, and he gets it. It's a picnic, boys, as they quickly clean out another. Make it a 3-for-2, but the two cores still alive here for LGD as they press on forward down this mid lane. While on the other side of the map, your two cores for DK. First, your Razor looking to go right back towards the base, and then Dreamy also to follow on up because their mid lane is under pressure, as a Freddie Mercury would say. And then moving on in, this tier 3 going to quickly be brought down. The Desolator damage doing some serious work. Razor moves on in, trying to shuffle them back, and well, here comes the Ice Blast. Actually not going to catch on anyone there, but ultimately the T3 does go down. Sylar might fall here, but still has the Aegis to work with, so he's not going to be, you know, too worried as of yet. But regardless, LGD, another team fight, which they come out on top, and they take down that tier 3.
Yeah, it's incredible that LGD are so confident right now in their current state of the game that they can actually make that kind of a fight without the Ice Blast. They had thrown out the Ice Blast earlier, it didn't hit on anything, and yet when they broke the smoke, they still were just went right in. They got a good swarm off, they got crazy damage coming out from Sylar and from Yao as a result of that swarm, and yeah, the people just fell extremely quickly by the wayside. So right now, DK, they just need to survive. They just need to tank up, try to minimize their losses. Because at the current state of the game, they're not out of it just yet. They have a great carry Inspector who is about to find, actually did just now find the Heart of Tarask. So she's big. She is going to be making a huge impact on the fight. But they need to just try to keep holding. As long as the racks stand, there is hope for DK. Because right now, the Tier 3, it's not costing them all that much. It's costing them... as far as time in the base, LGD will immediately go on the racks next, but at least for now, the momentum of the lanes is still in equilibrium, and it's going to be on Sylar to try to break that balance as he goes in for his next big item.
And we'll see here as LGD do congregate down here to the bottom. They would love to set up another big fight here. All cooldowns should be off and available. That Aegis, though, is going to be reclaimed any second, I would imagine, as they're not going to get the opportunity to make use of it. And for now, though, he does invest instead into what looks like a BKB. Yeah, BKB complete here. The Platinum Roach looking to sweep it back on over here. And he'll quickly grab that up. But if he can make use of this Aegis before it goes down, that'd be nice. But the timing is going to be very, very close here as he starts laying it in. Would love to finish off this Tier 3. Crystal Main shows up trying to slow him down, but not going to get so lucky as far as getting a hold of him. And then they instead quickly step on back and towards the secret shop where they will plant themselves, regroup, and formulate a new game plan here as they will maybe decide to find the right opportunity to move on in. They quickly keyboard this high ground, but a jump in slam Crystal Maiden, not going to be the best chance to move on there and try to get some wardage as she does quickly fall down. And Yao now with a mega kill streak on the back end of that one. Yules to follow up here. They see Razor, but he quickly pulls out that BKB and we'll go back to base. So LGD force Razor now to be BKB less in this next upcoming engagement where they do have the exorcism and everything else ready to go.
Yeah, I'm not sure why CTR went out there. That's going to cost him dearly, as he just won't have any survivability. The physical damage is already insane, but if you get hit by the Centaur combo, oh my goodness. They have 3 BKBs, 2 of them fresh. They're going to be able to break the base here, I believe.
Dire's bottom tower has
Moving on in. Exorcism going to town on the racks and move on back behind. They get a hold of Black right now, and there's your Haunt going to be triggered right there, but a couple of BKBs trying to prevent the little bit of extra damage that could be coming through. Now attention towards the racks. One going to fall right there. They're desperately trying to get a hold of anyone. MMY did already fall, and now the Centaur going to go down as well here. As Razor does move on in. He does not have that BKB, but he's happy to stand as long as possible. Sylar, yep, no more Aegis. Instead, holding that BKB. Will be able to clean up that Visage. And now looking to move on back. Does pull out the time lapse right there. That sends him all the way back and outside the base, but Dreamy U not looking to let up yet. Throws out the dagger. It's not going to catch, but the Gush will. And Sylar continues to make a hot retreat right here. And Yao as well, very, very fast on this Death Prophet, will lead out the front charge to make a swift escape. Ultimately, at the end of that one, it will be a 2-for-2, but a very happy LGD team do manage to take down not only that Tier 3, but 1 Rax there, taking down the ranged, and taking down the melee and leaving half-life on that ranged.
Yeah, and you'll note that the Tide actually didn't get the Ravage off there, and that's not a mistake. That's just a situation that was presented to him. He couldn't get in a position to get a good Ravage off. There were too many BKBs flying about, and in the end, Sylar just outmaneuvers him. He's all over the place. He actually dives pretty far there, past the Tier 4s at the very least, but he's reserved. He doesn't go to the well. He knows that this game is still not locked down just yet. The Spectre still can get pretty big, but with 1 Rax down, the momentum is all in favor of LGD, and they can look to bring this one home with maybe another push. Roshan will be respawning here in 1 to 4 minutes. We'll see the timer pretty soon, and that's going to be the critical timing. The next Rosh cycle could be the game-deciding one, and we'll see if LGD can keep this tempo up. They're going to go for the Stampede Plague. Cold Snap, Hansu, all out on his own. There's no way he gets out.
Oh! Cold Snap. Gets snapped right in half right there. It only takes a couple of right clicks. They quickly get vision. They pull out the Stampede, and now they want to take advantage of numbers as they're going to be 5 versus 4 as they look to move on through. Yeah, Crystal Main has a buyback. Is she going to use it? I'm not too sure. They could look to instead just create a little bit of extra space, keep these creeps pushed on forward, and then look to check on that Roche if they want to play it extra safe. Or not, though. I mean, Death Prophet does have Exorcism ready to go. It's level 3. Why not? So now they're going to look to push down this mid lane. The tier 3 had already fallen, and that immediately pulls out the fortification. But look who's coming in for a flank. It's Ty. Jumps in, catches a very nice Ravage, but the quick BKB of Centaur is not going to allow a whole lot of additional lockdown. But Faith, before he falls, will pull out the Echo. He actually is slipping away from this one. The Yules is going to lock Spectre in his place and not going to be able to pursue. Razor ultimately does end up going down. There's your quick slash down of the Visage to follow right there. Crystal Main is back, trying to get off an ultimate. Ultimately, though, Sylar catches up with the Spectre, rather, and takes him down. Gets some extra damage there on the Tidehunter, but he might get overzealous right here. Even the birds are bringing in the big damage. He already used his time lapse, so he cannot get away. Has to instead double back, and now, actually, a GG is going to be called here as DK know that might have been their best hope on trying to make something happen, and they're going to hand this one over to LGD, who will pick up the victory.
Roche, where we're going, we don't need Roche. This is LGD just slamming it home. Even with a great flank from the Tide, all they were able to force out was really the time lapse from the Weaver very early in the fight, but still they have the dominance, they have the damage output, that AA able to do so much work with that Aghanim Scepter and Sylar to hammer it home. Some great damage coming out from Yao too, Death Prophet, an extremely potent hero in these kind of death ball situations, and in the end, DK's kind of greedy core and the fact that they were trying to farm up the Visage as a kind of pseudo-support, pseudo-core hero, and the fact that Tide, Razor, and Spectre all needed to get big items. In the end, they just don't have enough net worth behind them, and 35 minutes in, LG take it away.
So on day 2, LGD walk away 2-0 with their debut performance. The Summit 2 by G2A, they're looking really, really strong here, taking out the promising new DK squad, and that's going to conclude our third matchup for today. We got one more to go, kids. Hyper Glory team is going to be taking on Lie Gaming next. That should be coming up momentarily, as it will be, it looks like, about 5:45 a.m. my time. To give you an idea how early in the morning it is, that's going to be about a half hour from now. So there's going to be a little bit of a break. Go ahead, step out, get a soda, get a beverage, get a snack, do what you got to do, but then make sure you come on back. And if you did like what you heard, you can catch me over on my Twitter at CoddleGuy, and the fantastic gentleman who's been joining me is Blaze. Catch him on his Twitter at Blaze Casting. Stick around, we'll be back with more Dota action as Summit 2 will continue.